Θρησκευτική Νίσυρο. Ευχαριστώ τον Παναγιώτη Μίχαλο που για μια ακόμη χρονιά είμαστε εδώ στο νησί μας, στη Νίσυρο, και για να του πω και κάτι για να δει πόσο διεθνή εμβέλεια πλέον έχουν οι διάλογοι της Νισύρου. Πριν από 3 εβδομάδες ήμουν με τους Δελφούς, το φόρουμ των Δελφών στη Σουλεμανία, στο Ιρακινό Κουρδιστάν, στο Ιράκ. Εκεί, λόγω των εξελίξεων στη Μέση Ανατολή, έκλεισε ο εναέριος χώρος και ζήσαμε μια περιπέτεια όλοι μας. Αναγκαστήκαμε να πάμε οδικώς στην Τουρκία και από εκεί να πετάξουμε στην Ελλάδα. Τέλος πάντων, ζήσαμε μια περιπέτεια. Στη Σουλεμανία, στο Ιρακινό Κουρδιστάν, ήταν ο συνάδελφος και ακαδημαϊκός, πολύ γνωστός στη Βουλγαρία, Κωνσταντίν Βολκόφ. Που μόλις του είπα για τους διαλόγους της Νισύρου, έκανε τα δυνατά και ήρθε από τη Σόφια και είναι εδώ μαζί μας και τον ευχαριστώ που είναι εδώ. Κωνσταντίν, thank you so much for being here. It's a pleasure having you here in Νίσυρος, and thank you so much. Αυτό αποδεικνύει τη διεθνή εμβέλεια που έχουν οι διάλογοι της Νισύρου πλέον, που έχουν θεσμοθετηθεί διεθνώς. Τώρα, θα συνομιλήσουμε τώρα και είμαστε πολύ χαρούμενοι με τον κύριο Ruben Diaz-Plaja. Ο κύριος Ruben Diaz-Plaja είναι ένας από τους πιο σημαντικούς συμβούλους του Γενικού Γραμματέα του ΝΑΤΟ, του κυρίου Ρούτε, και εν ώψη και της σημαντικής συνόδου του ΝΑΤΟ την επόμενη εβδομάδα, 7 και 8, στην Άγκυρα, αποκτά αυτή η συζήτηση μαζί του ιδιαίτερη σημασία. Το γεγονός ότι τον έχουμε μαζί μας. Thank you, Ruben. Thank you so much for joining us. I know you wanted to be with us here in beautiful Nisiros. You didn't make it. We're here at the beautiful island of Nisiros, next to a volcano. It's an incredible setting. So I know you are jealous, but next year we want you to be here with us.
Καλησπέρα. Θα ήθελα πάρα πολύ να είσαι...
Oh, nice, quick.
Το βράδυ με εσάς. Δυστυχώς πρέπει να μείνω εδώ στις Βρυξέλλες. I will continue in English now because my Greek is really not that good. But yeah, I'd love to be with you next year. Hopefully.
Next year, we want you to join us here, please. So let's give us your perspective in view of the summit in Ankara. What's the key issues that are going to be in the agenda? Are you getting ready in NATO for a summit that the NATO allies are going to have a consensus on the new emerging NATO, or the key players will disagree? Give us your perspective, your take.
Well, indeed, thanks very much for that question. Look, I think at this summit that we are preparing and only a few days away now, you will see that NATO allies will demonstrate that we are responding to an increasingly volatile and complex and dangerous security environment, whilst remaining focused on our mission of collective defense. And we know that a year ago in The Hague, just next to us here in Belgium, the NATO summit last year set out a number of key priorities, right? Invest more, produce more, and ensure continued support to Ukraine. Now, the summit in Ankara, in a couple of days from now, will be about showing that we are making vital progress against those 3 priorities, delivering on those commitments. So, while more cash is crucial, and of course, there's been amazing progress since last year, since the Hague summit on the defense investment piece, Ankara will also be, and I think in particular be, about showing how that cash is delivering combat-ready capabilities and also significantly scaling up our defense industries on both sides of the Atlantic through transatlantic cooperation. One feature of this will be that we will be using the summit actually to host the largest ever NATO summit defense industry forum. So I think, to answer your question also, this is also a summit where we will highlight NATO's evolution into an alliance in which European allies and Canada are taking even more responsibility for our shared security. This is part of the vision of what the Secretary General calls NATO 3.0, a stronger Europe in a stronger NATO.
Can you elaborate on this, because it's very important, the new NATO? as we see the emergence of new NATO. What's the main characteristics, and what's the role of Europe, and is Europe, the European countries, ready to take this responsibility?
Yeah, I think this is indeed, as you say, an essential part of the summit and the overall narrative. I always like to say that this is a long-term generational project that we started at The Hague with the Defense Investment Plan. This was a foundational commitment to rebalance our alliance towards a more credible posture where Europe will take on, together with Canada, a much larger share of the conventional defense and deterrence within the alliance. This has to happen through investment. That's why the investment plan in The Hague was foundational. But it's also about delivering on those investments, translating them into capabilities, and structuring them into credible changes in our posture, in the way we're organized. That's happening across a number of ways. Our Secretary General talks about this being a mindset shift, and we're seeing that all across Europe, all across NATO. We're seeing that, for instance, in our command structure. Earlier this year, allies agreed on a new distribution of senior officer responsibilities in NATO, where for the first time, European allies will play a more prominent role in NATO's military leadership. So to be concrete, all three of NATO's joint force commands, which lead the operational planning and command in crisis and conflict, will now be led by Europeans in future. That's one concrete example. We are seeing Europeans step up, of course, through the investments themselves. We've seen more than $139 billion in 1 year alone in investments by European allies and Canada. In the year before, from 24 to 25, we saw nearly 20% increase in investments. So that's an extraordinary amount. There's a ramp up going on. We're seeing that also in the defense industry, the way that our defense industries are stepping up. They're producing more, they're innovating more, they're delivering that. And I think we'll see that very concretely on Tuesday. I don't want to give away too many details, but we're lining up a series of announcements in which capability coalitions will be coming together. Allies will be announcing very concrete, numbered packages of capabilities that they will be investing in as groups. And NATO has been playing a key role as a convener and as an organizer of the capability coalitions to show also how we are translating those big numbers into actual concrete capabilities that will make Europe and NATO as a whole stronger and safer.
Ruben, you're referring to important and very interesting points. You mean that all the parts of NATO, all the members of NATO are going to be committed in Ankara now about their part, about their role?
For sure, I think that they are. I mean, we see the commitment through the defense spending already. That's happening, and Ankara will be a chance to show the progress on that. There'll be new numbers on how that's actually evolving. The declaration itself politically will be a moment in which allies will be able to underline their commitment to building this future vision of a stronger Europe in a stronger NATO, and that matters a lot. And then I think it'll also be manifest through concrete commitments in the defense industrial sphere, in the capability sphere, but also I'll underline another aspect which is really important here, in their continuing support to Ukraine. This is another area where Europe has stepped up and showed extraordinary leadership in the last few years, and has taken over actually a lot of the burden of supporting Ukraine in its fight for independence and freedom from what was maybe historically more something mixed and shared with the Americans.
Let's go back to the defense industry. This shift means a lot for the defense industry across Europe. What will be the picture, the new Europe and the new defense European industry? And what does this mean for the transatlantic alliance?
So I think allies are clearly re-energizing their industrial base. They're turbocharging defense cooperation, as we'll see on Tuesday at the Defense Industrial Forum in Ankara. It also means leveraging advanced technology to produce better, faster, and together. It's, by the way, and as part of that, also learning from each other and learning especially from Ukraine. The rate of co-production with Ukraine and investment in and with Ukraine is also increasing, and that's extraordinary how Europe is is picking up those lessons and translating them into their production. I think it's also about working with industry to rapidly produce and replenish military equipment, from basic ammunition to very complex weapon systems. I think increasingly what we hear is that this is important also for the United States. And our Secretary General was in Washington not so long ago, a few days ago, and that was also one of his messages, that the investment that Europe is making in its own security, its own defense, is also good for the American defense industrial base. And from a strategic point of view, this is an absolutely essential message, that we are there for each other, that we have mutually complementary, resilient and redundant defense industrial bases. That is a way that we can also undergird and reinforce that transatlantic dimension, because that remains the bedrock of the transatlantic alliance, right? But it's also having concrete benefits for our economies in Europe and in the US. Investing in defense often means investing in cutting-edge technology. We know that produces a defense and technological and societal dividend. This is often high-quality, high-paying jobs producing essential materials that we have to produce in our own countries, and that we cannot rely on foreign suppliers, or we cannot have outsourced to countries outside this alliance, right? So that is one thing, Keith, I think I mentioned. That being said, it is also important for us in NATO, in Europe, in the US, to also deepen our defense industrial partnerships with like-minded partners around the world. And we're seeing some very promising elements of cooperation with countries such as South Korea or Japan or Australia, where we have the same mindset, we have the same operating system in terms of standards and interoperability, and we also have a very important ingredient, which is trust.
Ruben, two more questions. One for the Middle East, about the situation at the Strait of Hormuz. Could NATO expand its role beyond Europe in strategic areas like the Strait of Hormuz? Are you planning something there?
I think so. Allies have been very clear that, and this is something that allies all agree on, that Iran cannot possess a nuclear weapon, and have long recognized the threat that comes from Iran's ballistic missile program. Allies are also stepping up cooperation with partners in the Gulf. We have this format of cooperation called the Istanbul Cooperation Initiative with the 4 Gulf countries. And by the way, those countries will be present in Ankara, which is an important I suppose, signal of our continued attention and interest in our southern flank. And we will be initialing stronger cooperation projects with those countries. And I think allies also agree that the freedom of navigation through the Strait of Hormuz is respected. Those are things that allies are agreed. At this point, though, I don't want to commit to anything else as to what NATO might or might not do. I think we will have to see what the next few days brings, but that is about as far as I'll go on that issue.
Finally, Greece, the Greek Prime Minister Mitsotakis, along with Mr. Dendias, the Defense Minister, Mr. Gerapetritis, the Foreign Minister will be in Ankara. How do you assess in Brussels, in NATO, Greece's role and Greece's capability in NATO?
Thank you very much. Look, I think Greece is a long-standing and highly respected member of the alliance. Membership dating back to the early 50s, and of course, there's a number of ways in which Greece's contribution is deeply respected. It's historically been above the 2%, even before 2% became the norm. We have seen the defense modernization package that was announced last year, a major contribution to updating the Hellenic armed forces. We see Greece contributing and being a leader operationally in the Western Balkans, in maritime operations. Through just recently, Greece took over the standing NATO Maritime Group 2 in the Mediterranean, so an active role in maritime security and air policing as well. We also see the Greek defense industry picking up steam and doing some very interesting things. And our Deputy Secretary General, Pamila Shekarinska, was in Athens a few weeks ago and saluted the efforts of the Greek defense industry as part of this larger transatlantic defense ecosystem. We see also how Greece supports Ukraine, in particular in the area of energy security, and this is, I think, well recognized. So these are areas, I think, where Greece is seen as a leader. Finally, of course, I'd also stress how Greece is always a thought leader when it comes to thinking about the broader array of threats and challenges that lie to the southern neighborhood of the alliance. No? And historically, this has been a place where Greece has intellectually also contributed to NATO. So in that sense, very much part of this broader burden shift and part of this mindset shift that we see in Europe as we build a stronger Europe and a stronger NATO.
Ruben, thank you so much for your insights. Thank you. Everybody's greeting you here. Thank you. It was very nice opportunity to have you. Next year, we're expecting you here in Nisiros. Thank you so much. Take care. Bye-bye.